Hello, welcome to this episode of Dr. Tami Talks. I'm your host, Dr. Tami. Today, we're talking about one of the most important topics that you could possibly engage with, and that is emotions as energy. It took me a really long time to come into this healthy relationship with my emotions. For decades of my life, I was under the influence of thinking that emotions were incredibly inconvenient. I have a lot of emotions. I was raised in a rather stoic family where I was this emotional type and I don't think they knew what to do with me. And so a lot of times I perceived that I was not allowed to have them. In retrospect, I'm able to go back to that version of me, to those dynamics that I was raised with, and have so much compassion and love for those influences and for myself who didn't know what to do with this emotional energy. I am so grateful to have this understanding. And so I really felt like it was so important for me to bring this conversation here and not just sort of reserve it for my clients and my students, because I want to see you living your best life. And we need energy to do it, right? Like, I know you have goals, you have dreams, you have aspirations. And my friend, you need energy to fulfill on those things. So let's talk about emotions because they really are the energy that fuels our actions, our behaviors, our reactions. Because I didn't have a healthy relationship with emotions, I missed out on multitudes of opportunities to tap this vast, valuable resource for fueling my greatest potential and power in this life. And I don't want to see that happen to you. I want us co-creating together our best lives, like lives beyond what we ever thought possible. And we really want to understand emotions if we're going to do this with any real intelligence, skill, and wisdom. Okay. So I've previously talked on an episode, it was Tea Time with Dr. Tami, where I went into the sequence of how thoughts lead to our emotions, which then fuel our actions. If you haven't caught that episode, I'm going to invite you to either pause this and listen to that or catch that episode after this one so that you can have a better understanding of where emotions fall in the sequence of things. Emotions end up being the biochemical signature in the body as a result of the neurochemical reactions taking place in the brain, which is a byproduct of thinking or thoughts, right? So we have an emotional tone, an emotional baseline that can help us understand a little bit more about our mental landscape. So it's really important that we understand emotions not just as raw energy, but as valuable feedback about how it is that we're thinking about ourselves, about our work, about our relationships, about our lives, about this world at large. Whenever we're entertaining thoughts that are not aligned with our highest good, our greatest values, we start to feel distress, right? So those stress signals, we want to have a really intimate, beautiful relationship with our own stress response as valuable. And so a part of this is having this relationship with our emotions where we recognize our emotional states as a form of intelligence. It's trusting that we've been so uniquely designed, perhaps divinely designed, for our greatest ability to thrive and flourish in this life. It is fascinating to me that when we're in nervous system balance, we have a sympathetic arm of our nervous system and a parasympathetic arm of our nervous system, generally speaking, and that they're meant to counterbalance one another, that we never get too sympathetic or too stressed, And we don't thrive when we're overly relaxed or overly parasympathetic. We want these in balance. The lives that we live today, we are so inundated with such extreme levels of stress that we have thrown our natural balance off. And so in the SMART program and in my work one-on-one with my clients, we spend the first 30 days of our work together really doubling down on nervous system balance, because it is the nervous system. Yes, it's the massive communicator between the brain and the body. It's the nervous system that allows the mind-body connection to exist. And what's fascinating about that communication network is that it's bidirectional. So that when we start having a set point, biochemically speaking, in the body, which is what we can refer to as an emotional tone, that starts triggering back to the body. Like if our cortisol levels, our epinephrine, our the stress related hormones and proteins that are being produced, when those levels start to drop, there's a signal from the body that goes back to the brain that says, alert, alert, we're dropping. Our baseline levels are not being met. So it's really important for us to know as we're doing nervous system balance work that we anticipate that this is going to happen, that we engage with this process with so much curiosity and compassion. And we go, wow, isn't that interesting? My mind is being driven to reach for more stressful interactions or to engage in stressful, what we might call drama in our lives, because it is simply a set point. It's a behavior habit. It's a habit of feeling and thinking that we're breaking free from. This is the price of liberation. We want to expand our awareness. We want to be big enough to see this happen and knowledgeable enough to be empowered with the skills we need to see it happen and not be owned by it. Because when we think we are our thoughts or we think we are our emotions, we are identified with them and we become them, and we don't know that these are tools for us to live our best lives, and we end up becoming the victim of them, feeling like life is happening to us, which is never actually the case. Oh, if I had had this knowledge a decade ago. But this is what fuels my life's work now, is because I know that this is valuable. I know that when you have this knowledge, your life is going to change. I am highly invested and interested in that happening. So let me share with you a little bit more about set points and how this stuff works and why nervous system balance becomes so important. When we are living in a state of chronic stress, which 70% of adults are doing the majority of their waking hours. So, like, we don't need to be feeling like we're the only ones, that we're the only ones that can't keep our shit together. We're the only ones this is happening to. No, my friends, this is essentially happening to everybody. And what we know on surveys like that is that most people try to minimize their own distress. Like we have our own aversion to our own pain and discomfort. So statistically speaking, those numbers are far, far higher. So we're talking about like truly the majority of people in corporate industrialized nations are experiencing this. So why is this happening? What in the hell is going on? So we're staying in a sympathetic state longer than we were designed to. And when that happens, it alters the way the brain works. We move into high beta brainwave activity. And this is associated with this frenetic thought pattern, ruminating, negative, catastrophic thinking. There's never enough time. There's never enough money. We never look good enough. We're never showing up enough. We're never enough. And it fuels so much guilt, so much regret, so much shame. We end up blaming ourselves. When we're in that thought pattern that stress is creating in the brain, it's leading to an emotional signature of distress in the body, right? So we start feeling frustrated, impatient, angry, disappointed. Over time, when that goes on long enough, we fall into patterns of exhaustion and depression because the physical body doesn't have the energetic resources to continue that emotional tone without hitting a wall. And that wall can be anything from physical, right? You end up in bed, you end up sick, you end up in the emergency room, right? Like it happens to all of us. Or we end up with thought problems. So we go to psychiatrists and we go to professionals because we think, oh my God, it's my ADHD, it's my addiction spectrum, it's my anxiety is on overload. It's all of these things that we typically think of as mental disorders or mental health issues that really end up being symptoms of nervous system imbalance. Then there's the other thing of like sort of emotional disorders where we're so emotionally volatile, where we're short tempered, we're yelling at our children, we're picking fights with our spouse, we're headed for divorce, where now it extends into interpersonal conflicts at work, which actually ends up being a late stage manifestation of this emotional turmoil that's actually rooted in nervous system imbalance. So then there's a spiritual cost, right? Like we feel isolated, disconnected. We can't connect to gratitude. We can't connect to happiness. We don't remember the last time we laughed, right? We can't remember the last time we cried tears of joy because really the last, I don't know, 50 times I cried, it was despair, right? We don't realize that these are nervous system imbalances, and we want to start looking at these things as intelligent feedback of that phenomenon. And as we start balancing our nervous systems, we come into such a clear relationship. We move the brain out of this beta brainwave activity into alpha brainwave activity. Now we can think clearly. There's a natural phenomenon in the amygdala and the emotional center of the brain where our emotions actually become more regulated. We move our metabolic resources out of the survival brain and we move them forward into the prefrontal cortex so that we're able to actually access willpower. We're able to access our greatest capacity for cognitive, mental processing, decision making, and our ability to communicate and relate well to stressors in our lives. So emotions become the signature. It's so much easier for us to be able to track emotions than thoughts. It's really important for us to recognize that it is thoughts that are related to our emotions and that our emotions can feed back to our thoughts. When we are balancing our nervous systems, we also access our ability to have emotional equanimity. We move out of this frenetic, chaotic, incoherent system into a clear, coherent, highly symphonic relationship with the mind, the nervous system, and the body. Okay, this is our greatest capacity to think clearly, to intentionally choose thoughts, to intentionally guide our emotions. When you come into clear relationship with your emotions as energy, you can feel this, right? Like, let's just do like a little bit of an experiment right now. When you feel frustrated, when you feel angry, when you feel impatient, where do you feel that in your body? I know for me, I can feel it like in my solar plexus, like in my belly. I can sometimes feel this like up in my throat. There is like a burning sensation. There's fire. This is energy. And the amount of energy that gets spent when we're spinning our tires, so to speak, in a stress response is massive. And that's energy that you don't have to be directing towards your greatest goals, visions, aspirations for yourself, for your life. You've been around the block. You know that for you to show up with everything you've got in your work relationships, in your business, for the people you care about most and the causes that you care about most, it's going to take energy. It takes energy to do those things. And then you feel awful when you don't have the energy to do those things. And my invitation to you is to examine where in your life are you wasting energy? Not you as in like a blame and shame. I just mean, where is this phenomenon taking place where energy is being wasted, dissipated in stress cycles that become deconstructive, meaning that energy isn't used constructively to build what you want. That energy gets consumed within you. Distress causes dis-ease in the body, causes disease in the body. It causes dysregulation and dysfunction in your brain. This is really what these emotions are signaling to you. This is intelligent feedback. Every time I feel frustrated angry, impatient, every time I feel like I'm spinning my wheels, every time I feel fear, anxiety, overwhelm, I am going, wow, okay, I'm taking a moment. I'm getting coherent, which is the core skill that I teach my clients. It's one you can teach yourself if you don't want to join me in the SMART program or one-on-one. Learn this critical skill for yourself, my friend. Get coherent. This moves you out of beta brainwave activity into alpha brainwave activity. It makes your brain and your body coherent, stabilizes the nervous system. Now you have access to your greatest potential as the creator of your life, period. So you get coherent. I can do that in less than 30 seconds. And so can my clients and my students because it's a skill that they've mastered. So in less than 30 seconds, you've used this signal, this emotional signal as feedback. And now from here, you can investigate, oh, that's so interesting. Depending on how much time you have one of two options. If you're in a situation where you need to just take action, there's one pathway that allows you to just choose the emotion that you know you need in the moment. You just pick it because now you're in emotional equilibrium. You have emotional equanimity. You have access to the anterior cingulate gyrus of the brain. You can shift thought patterns and emotional patterns on demand when you're coherent. Epic skill set, my friends. So from this place, the other option, if you have a little bit of time, it is, I am telling you, so worth taking an extra 30 seconds to go, that's so interesting. What were the thoughts that I'm entertaining right now that led me to this? That window of insight gives you access to the thought patterns that are fueling that. Over time, as you keep doing this, you start to uncover belief systems that are beneath that. And that's where we can go to work on transforming your life going forward. Because when we rewrite beliefs, when we reprogram belief systems, this is when you don't have to continue to go back to doing this work. You will for a certain amount of time until you've dismantled that belief and you've rewritten it into a new one that fuels you. And trust me, we're going to come back to this process again and again because there's so much unlearning and learning and relearning to do. Because, my dear friends, we have inherited a shit ton of programming that does not serve us, and it's okay. A little bit of this work has magnificent, profound effects on your life. It is miraculous what is possible when you start working intelligently with emotions and thoughts from a highly coherent place. We were designed to be coherent for a reason. It gives us access to our greatest power. So our emotions are our power. Our emotions are energy, and that energy is being used to build your life or destroy it. I want you to get that fundamental with it. Like, this emotion is either constructing me or it's destructing me. Like, get that clear on it. This emotion is moving me one step closer to who I want to be, or it's taking me one step back, and choose wisely. I, for so long, did not understand that my frustration and my anger and my resentment and my grief were all intelligent signs. And I spent so many years avoiding them and numbing them and suppressing them and repressing them. And it consumed me, and I burnt out big time, baby. I can look back on that experience and go, oh my gosh, so valuable. All of that had to happen. Like, I don't have any regret about it whatsoever. I really don't. I can play some thought experiments and get curious about how things could have been differently, but I accept fundamentally 100% my journey. I trust myself. I trust my life. I trust my life experience, that it's all here to serve me. And it's my work. It is my job to search every experience for the lesson, for the nourishment, for the nugget of gold that is here to build me into the next best version of myself, the next best reiteration of my life. And I'm inviting you to have the same relationship with everything that creates disharmony, distress, dis-ease in your life. I want you to have such a sacred relationship. I want you to partner with yourself, with your nervous system, with the spirit of your life, that you know this is wisdom. You know this is pure gold here for you. It is a gift that we're meant to unpack, that you're meant to unpack. So, my friend, I want to leave you with this, that your emotions are energy. And I want you to look at your emotional tone. Just look at the emotional landscape of the last week of your life. Imagine your emotions on a spectrum. On one end, we have very stressful, distressing emotions. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have resilience based emotions. We have regenerative emotions, the emotions that fuel you, emotions like joy, love, appreciation, playfulness, curiosity, interest, excitement. And down here on the other end, we have frustration, anger, resentment, shame. All of those are the most distressing emotions we could experience. And I invite you to consider, where are you on the spectrum? And then ask yourself, where do you want to be? And we get coherent and we balance our nervous systems and we start moving the meter. We start moving the set point, moment by moment, breath by breath, hour by hour, day by day, and we move ourselves so that our overall emotional tone is one of joy, love, appreciation, playfulness, inspiration. This is how you access your emotional power. This is how you shift from wasting emotions, wasting your energy, to harvesting it and using it to guide your life, to build your greatest capacity for health, happiness, and joyful success in your life. This is my great wish for you, for me, for us. I'm so happy you're here. I absolutely love you. I'm so honored to be on this journey with you. If you're listening to this and there's a part of you that's like, ooh, I want more of this, my friend, reach out. I'm here for you. The SMART program, registration's opening September 22nd. Chances are that window's opening for something like 48 hours. Yeah. You want to be on that wait list, my friend. You do not want to miss this opportunity. This group is shaping up to be like the most fantastic, amazing group of people. I want you in it. I want to see you in there. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I will catch you next time, my friends. Bye.